Hey, this one is called Listen to Your Body. In other words, LTYB. So we here at the LTYB community, which I think is funny, because it kind of sounds like LGBTQ. But anyways, the thing is, a lot of people say that. It's really easy to say, oh yeah, you gotta listen to your body, but like, do you? I am guilty of having said those words, I'm sure hundreds of times. Yet when it comes down to it, I can recall hundreds of not, like a lot of times when I have not listened to my body or didn't know how to listen to my body, didn't understand the message that it was giving me, that it was telling me, that it was saying, and I suffered, not needlessly, because that was a part of my journey, was learning how important it is to actually listen to your body, like all of the time. Like every little thing that it is telling you is important for you to take notice. It's not like, oh yeah, we'll just kind of wait for this little thing to go away. That's not what's going on, and that's not how it works. So if you can learn to do this, you can learn from my mistakes. So I made a list of them, and it is extensive, right? So everything that I am talking about here in this list, I have gone through personally. This is my own personal list of everything. So it's not in a particular order. It's just kind of as I jotted all this stuff down as I was going through the process. So anyway, so number one, knee pain. This is something that I was dealing with because my knees have been hurting. So I've been becoming a yoga teacher, and I've been a yogi for a while, but like meditating and like practicing a lot of asana, hatha yoga in the last while. Certainly in the last couple of years, more and more kind of ramping up to everything, getting ready to step into the shoes of a yoga teacher. And I have experienced pain in my knees. And it was really challenging because it was like I didn't know what was causing it, where it was coming from, and what I was going to do about it. And so I tried so many things. I tried supplements. I made videos. I've been making videos since all of this came to pass, right? And so, and they've been hurting, and I was like, holy cow, I'm going to have to either figure out what's going on, or I'm going to have to get a haircut, right, and get a real job. And so and then that is when I started on my big raw food kick. So it's like, yeah, okay, the body can heal from stuff, especially on a 100% raw food diet. The body just goes into turbo healing mode. But it's like that's after the fact. You don't treat the symptom, you treat the cause. You have to do both. Of course, you need to heal, but you need to figure out, what was I doing wrong that caused this? Why am I suffering? And I tried all these things. I took all kinds of supplements and this and that, and I was really concerned about protein there for a while. I even ventured into supplements that were not 100% vegan, because it was like, I don't know, I didn't know what I needed. It was like, there was like chondroitin and some other ones, it comes from the shells of crustaceans or something like that. So but it was like, I needed a way out, right? So I resorted to doing that. Anyways, but that was like years ago, but still, and then so where am I at with it now? I learned in my yoga teacher training that how everything is connected intimately, and how the smallest thing, when done repeatedly over an extended period of time, can lead to a significant impact in your health, whether that's positive or negative. And so in this case, one of the things is to do with footwear, because if you wear like say I used to wear Birkenstocks in general, but they're not the best because they have arch support, which then, you know, your feet aren't working how they should be, you know, like putting because it's compensated for by this arch support. And there's a lot of shoes that have arch support in there. I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, and it's just like, oh yeah, no, I have to wear these shoes. And it's like, no, you have that problem because you wear those shoes. That's what's causing it. And it's like, well, if I take them off, I have pain. It's like, yeah, because your feet are so weak that you're unable to like support your own weight. I mean, it's crazy. And also like, say like I would wear an old pair of Birkenstocks around the house, but it's like, then when you stand there, say in the kitchen and you're doing stuff, you essentially stand on your heels. You put the majority of the weight in your heels because it's just the most comfortable place for you to do that. But it's like at that point, you are not using your toes, you're not using your toes and the rest of your foot, all the muscles in your foot and in your calves and like in your shins and legs and all that kind of stuff, to the extent that you would be if you were standing there in bare feet, where you have to evenly distribute the weight over the entire foot, and you have to move, and you have to kind of keep your knees bent a little bit, because you gotta, yeah, anyways, or I don't even know about that, but the point is that it's a completely different stance. It's a different way of standing and being. And then that's also where it kind of leads into this whole barefoot shoes. There's barefoot running shoes. There's like socks that kind of, I invented like the outdoor socks too. When I was a kid in elementary school, they were called thong socks. It was an invention of mine because I didn't like wearing shoes outside, and now they're the thing. You know, it's one of those things that I look back on. It's like, imagine if I had kept with that. But I don't think like that, because I am who I am because of the path that I walked. Anyways, so the thing is, so there's that, and then there's also having weak leg muscles. So I have, because my first path of a yogi was, meditating. So I would sit, and I still do, for hours right there, and meditate every morning or every day. And, so you're sitting in this position where you have certain muscles in flexion, they're shortened, and then you're stabilizing yourself. It creates an imbalance because of the way that some muscles are tensed and whatnot. And it's the same thing sitting in a chair like this. I have spent 10 years, I've put so many hours, sometimes like 15, 16 hours a day sitting in this chair. Not this one. This is my Herman Miller, my granddaddy, that I bought because I deserve it. I was like, I put in my 10, 20,000 hours in a chair. It's like, I deserve a good chair. And so I bought the best chair that I could afford, and certainly from one of the most reputable chair makers that there is, as far as high-end, ergonomic, well-made, engineered chairs, office chairs. And so this is my baby. But the point is sitting in a chair for an extended period of time, you have your hamstring, because you're sitting in sort of a shape like this. It's like this muscle is shortened and this muscle is shortened. So sitting in a chair, as far as I can tell, I'm not 100% sure of this, but it's super bad for you, just because of the way that your legs are bent like that. And then you're sitting there, and then you stabilize your torso. And then if you even go so far as to lean back into the chair, and then what? You're just essentially tensing more like your front, your what do they call it? Rectus abdominis, as opposed to having to use back muscles to stabilize you both ways, which is lateralis dorsi, and anyways, I'm not going to rattle through all the different muscles, trapezius and all that kind of stuff. I had to learn from my yoga course, from my group fitness instructor training course for the YMCA. Anyways, and so this device has the potential to screw you up big time, a chair, because you don't know what you're doing. When I sit in my chair these days and I type, I do not use the backrest. I'm using the backrest right now because it's just like I'm sitting here making a video, and it's like if I want to move I kind of want to just do my thing right now. But yeah, it is like I said, it has the potential to really screw you up, and so you have to be careful. And the other one with shoes, it's just like the things that are underneath your feet, because it's called what's called like the gait step, or the gait, your gait stride, or whatever the movement. And it's like you're walking, how you walk, the way that you walk. And it's like, because it's like something that you have done over time. Like you just like, oh, I got my 10,000 steps. And it's like, yeah, if you're stepping 10,000, well, what about in a week? How about a month, a year? How about in a decade? How about, some people live a millennia, right? Like, how many steps are you putting in? And if you're doing it wrong, because if you wear shoes that have like a big fat heel in them, then you do what's called a heel strike, because it's the same way that you stalk, or the way that you stand. You can do this walk where you land on your heels and then just kind of move like that. So it takes a lot of the weight, and then it allows you to be on your feet for longer, which is necessary for some professions. Like there's a job, like for my job at work, I would not go back to wearing thinner soled shoes for work, because I need to perform at my job, and it's very important. But outside of that, do not wear running shoes. They are terrible for your feet. I wear running shoes when I run, and then otherwise do not. They are horrible for you. I don't wear Birkenstocks anymore. I stopped wearing Havaianas because you gotta hold on to them with your toes there. It's not natural. So you're doing this thing with your feet, you're cramping your feet together, holding on with your toes. It is not good for you. I will never buy a pair of any of those shoes again outside of running shoes for work. And I'm almost done having to work like a slave. And also for running, yeah, I got a nice pair of Nikes that I run in. So that is something. And I've also noticed too, when I first got my first good pair of running shoes, I noticed how they were terrible for standing in because of the arch support. You're standing there and it's just like it pushed on my arches, and it felt horrible. It was during Remembrance Day. I remember going with my dad and standing there because my grandpa was in the war. A lot of my family was in the war. And and just like how uncomfortable it was standing in these shoes. I mean, for not a long time. So and that's telling you something. You have to listen to that. If your feet are hurting because you're standing in shoes for like an hour, those aren't very good shoes. They're not the right shoes for the right application anyways. And so you need to pay attention to that stuff. That one wasn't even on my list. It's just another one of these stupid things that I can reflect upon. It's just like, wow, how naive I've been, how, ignorant, or not so much arrogant. I wasn't like thinking that I know what I'm doing, but I certainly wasn't paying attention. I certainly wasn't listening to my body. I wasn't, and so, and all of this stuff. So like, so anyways, I mean, I'm still on thing number 1. This might be a long video. So another thing that I learned too is that, I have weak legs, right? And so then I was like, okay, you know what you need to do? You need to go to the gym, and you need to know what you're doing when you go to the gym. You can't just go there and wing it. There is a science to working out, how to essentially, like now, I just go, because I'm a full-time yogi, I do legs 1 day a week, and I do upper body 1 day a week. I do mostly calisthenics, but I've started doing squats, and I do lunges as well, using weights. So there's a few exercises. I do like a sort of a skull crusher type thing, but with a to work this and certain things, right? So, but using those machines, as much free weights and as much movement so that you get a range of motion as possible. And it's like, it's hard in the beginning. You gotta recognize that you have no clue what you're doing, and then you gotta go there, you gotta figure it out, you gotta talk to people, luckily I have a friend who gave me some instructions and said, no, do it like this, like you do this and then you drop it down, you do half of that and then you add, and then that's a set kind of deal. And so, and of course, as soon as you start building up the muscles in your legs, these knee issues start disappearing, because the fact is just that, like, for myself, I had weak legs just all around, and I could tell, like, I've just always had skinny legs, right? I mean, that's what I would say. It's just who I am. It's like, well, is that who you want to be? Because you have a choice. You have a choice to pick your ass up and go to the gym, or you can say, oh, well, I guess this is just how it is. I guess I'm just going to suffer through this for the rest of my life, and I don't know what to do, right? And that kind of nonsense. So, yeah, I mean, that's been huge, of course. And then, yeah, like, so that, and then the other aspect of it, and this is enormous, is yoga, right? So I have been doing a lot of yoga. I practice yoga sometimes a lot, usually twice a day, for about an hour at a time, because to be a yoga instructor, for me, you have to be way better than everybody else. That is the standard that I hold myself to. Yeah, anybody who's that good wouldn't be in my class. They would be, or is better than me, wouldn't be in my class. They'd be teaching their own class, right? Like, I don't go to other people's yoga classes because I'm that good. Not that I'm the best, right? But I mean, I would go to workshops, I would go to trainings and things like that. I'm just a beginner, believe me, as far as a teacher goes, but I'm way better than most people. And so the thing is, something that I've learned, it's like, so I've done all of this yoga. I've been doing yoga seriously for years. And what has happened? I have gotten open in many places. I've hurt myself a few times too. And it was like, I didn't know why. And then until I started studying anatomy. And then I learned about how the psoas is like attached to the to the hamstrings, and then it goes to your dorsal, your lower lumbar, your four vertebrae. And I've hurt myself doing forward bends, like Paschimottanasana, which just is like a seated forward bend with both legs in front of you, and also Tadasana, which is, it's sort of like it's called star pose, but it's like a butterfly pose where you sit in cobbler's pose with your knees like this, but your feet are out in front of you. And then all of a sudden it just goes ping. And also doing certain, I don't know what it's called, but it's like if you do a side lunge and then you hook your arm on the thing. And so like you're turned that way and then you lock your arms in underneath. It's a pretty hard pose, but I could do it. But I remember doing it. I'd done it a bunch of times, and then boom, this one day I did it and ping. And then I would get this like pain across my back, like across my hips. Something would go ping, and then I would have to stop practicing yoga like completely for weeks. And this is when I'm like doing everything that I can to prepare myself, for this whole, I'm becoming a yoga teacher. It's like I don't have time to take a couple weeks off because I hurt myself, because I don't know what I'm doing. And so what it came down to is that, yeah, I've been practicing lots of things, but I wasn't practicing certain, so I wasn't holding poses long enough. And I wasn't doing the correct range of certain poses. Like say if you're doing like a low lunge and you're like this, you can have your leg, back a little bit, and then like that, and then like that, and then like that, and then like that, and then coming into like that, into like Hanumanasana, where you're doing the splits, right? But you need to have that range. You can't just be, or like people, I see people do this all the time at the gym. It's like called pigeon pose, where it's like you got your back feet back here, then you got this one knee sort of on the ground, and this is sort of like your torso. Ooh, it's hard to bend like that up there. Well, if you're just keeping that back there, then you're never working when it's like there and there and there and there and there, and that's where all the tightness is. So it's like you can be doing one variation of a pose, yet like completely missing the other like 90% of like the angles that you need to be working in order to open up these things. And it's like, it's been weird, right? Because I haven't been paying attention, I haven't been listening, I haven't been thinking about it, didn't figure it out. It's like, well, I, over the last number of years with all of the sitting and all of the meditation and all this kind of stuff, and even like with the yoga, with not doing certain variations, I've lost flexibility in my hips. I've made zero progress in certain in my hips because I was failing to know what the hell I was doing. You know? So, and ever since I started practicing that stuff, I mean, the body just says, oh my God, like, thank you. You know, thank you for strengthening the muscles. Thank you for stretching them out properly. And thank you for eating healthy. And of course, you combine those things, that's all there is to it, right? It's not rocket science. You know, it's not a great mystery. It is if you don't ask enough questions, if you don't take it seriously, if you don't say, hey, this is a sign of something. This is telling me something. I need to figure this out. I need to do research. I need to ask questions. I need to talk to professionals until I reach a point where it's like, aha, now I see what is going on. And then, you know, get that advice on how to fix it. I mean, I just essentially gave it to you, but I mean, that is for one thing, right? So that is number one off the list, which is an extensive list. So but that was a biggie, right? And it encompasses a lot of stuff. So moving on. Oh, no. Sorry, we're not done. Knees as well. So because I am up and down, a lot. I'm up and down all the time because I work in flooring at the moment. So up and down, off the floor all the time, on the mat, yoga, up and down. Anyways, developed this thing. It's called crepitus. It's like a creaking, kind of a popping, almost like a grindy, poppy, creaking noise in your knees, and then it happens when it gets worn down or whatever, right? And they say, oh yeah, you know, some people, you can watch YouTube videos and be like, some people say there's nothing you can do with it, you gotta live with it. Some people say, oh yeah, you just kind of rub your knee like that. It did not work. I mean, anyways, and so it took this and that dealt with that. It is slowly but surely going away. All of it. It is because you're doing what it takes to rectify the situation. You know, so that was huge too, because it's another one of those things. It's like, where is this coming from? What is going on? Is this my diet? Is this, that? It's like, it's everything. You know, you've been given a message. You know, you're being handed your salvation in the form of, you know, being you know, something that you can pay attention to. Anyways, so really good. You know, another thing too along those lines was my foot. I had soreness in my right foot and I didn't understand why, and it came down to because I was so I live in other people's houses right now, and I like to really not be too loud. I'm a pretty quiet person. I don't like to stomp around, right? So I would essentially walk on the sides of my feet to walk super quietly. And in doing this, I threw myself off balance and put a lot of strain on one of my feet. And I guess for whatever reason, I developed a pain in my right foot, and it's been really annoying because it's like, what is causing this and what do I got to do to get rid of it? But ever since I started understanding all of this sort of barefoot stuff, how important it is to have good contact between you and the surface that you're walking in and walking on, and spreading your weight over your foot evenly, and using all of the muscles evenly, and not being too concerned about it, how quiet you are. It's like, if you think pussyfooting is going to it's not worth it, whatever the case. It will screw you up. You gotta own it. If you're gonna walk, I'm not saying stomp around, but you have to walk properly, because you put in thousands of steps. This is an understanding that I've been developing since running in Mexico. I made a video about this last time I was there, and I ran into it's no pun intended, but ran into some similar problems, whereas like over the course of, say, like a 10-mile run on the beach, because I was running in these tracks instead of kind of creating my own tracks, I was putting my body into an unnatural flow, an unnatural position, and it caused me a lot of pain, and I wasn't able to run after that for a little while. Pretty annoying. Made it hard to walk too. Sorry, just getting on over a little cold, I guess is what you call it. Yeah, and so yeah, that was a thing. And to me, metaphorically, spiritually, that there is that message there too about not walking in somebody else's tracks. You got to blaze your own trail. Don't be a follower. I mean, unless that's your energy, and I know that some people are, so I guess but that is my message, right? Is to walk your path, whatever the case, right? Moving on. My tongue. I had a thing where I had it's called geographic tongue, and it was like, it would have these big blotches, and it's very unsightly, and it's like, what is going on? Like in Chinese medicine, you go to the practitioner, they check your pulse, they check your tongue, they do like things like that. They look at your eyes, because the body gives you all the feedback, or a lot of the feedback that you need. They can tell you many, many things about health. And so this was something that I struggled with for quite a period of time, and which actually ended up leading up to me experiencing what I would call celiac. I had celiac, where it's like, the second I cut wheat out of my diet, gluten, a lot of the conditions that I was dealing with would disappear. Also, I've had a thing where I used to, my tongue gets swollen, and then it's like it gets rubbed or caught in with my teeth, and then it develops sort of like a white thing along the side. So it's like there's an inflammation going on, and I've lived with this my whole life, and only now, as basically a raw vegan, it is subsided 95%, and certainly the whole geographic tongue was gone when I healed from celiac disease, which I made a video about and wrote many comments to as well, because some people like to beak and undermine another person's experience, but I addressed everything and all of the details surrounding that, so I'm not going to go into it in here. But anyways, the tongue gives you feedback. Yeah, super important. And yeah, like I was saying, as on a raw food diet, it's like my body is telling me something. It's like if conditions that you've been living with for the majority of your life are subsiding as a result of embracing a particular type of diet, then I suggest you figure out how to thrive on that diet. And for me right now, that means things like getting raw vegan cookbooks, uncooked books, and I have a few of them, as well as for making desserts and stuff like that. You know, you need the food processor, you need the high-speed blender, you need the dehydrator in that, at least for myself, because I like a bit of variety. And yeah, and it's you know, because cooked food is addicting, so it's like you need to replace it with something that is better. And for myself, yeah, raw food is better. I see myself going in that direction. I would like to get off the cooked food completely one day, and we'll see. I'm going to do everything that I can to set myself up for that. And then because I've done it before and I've thrived, and I've seen other people do it. There's this girl on like Instagram and that kind of stuff, Ageless Beauty, and like she's really pretty, and I follow her. Sometimes I used to think that she posted a lot of pictures of herself, right? But then like I saw this one today, and she's just like I picked this her from like a few years ago, and then now I don't know how long she's been on the raw food kick, but it's just like her face has changed. And I noticed this about myself too, where when I compared photos from 10 years ago to now. So from, you know, I was eating raw vegan and back then, but not like fully embraced it. I still had a lot of growing and learning to go through. But, you know, when I compare the pictures, I'm 100% more healthy looking. My face is way more full. I look so much better than I did 10 years ago. I would never want to go back to that skinny, malnourished looking dude. It was just like, yeah, I was like, damn, you know, that's all I could say, you know, looking back, like, damn. So that's a thing. Moving on. So knees. So I mentioned the lumbar. So the knees, because everything's connected. And then so lumbar. So back in the day, I used to be a rod buster, an iron worker, rebar, carry big bars. I worked on some big jobs. I remember one day picking up a piece of, I think it was either 35 or 40 M. We're talking a big bar of steel, long, very heavy. I picked it up with somebody else, and when I was walking, I think I might have slipped, and there was a squish, and it like squished one of my, I don't know what you call it, vertebrae, or anyways, yeah, I think that's the right word. And it was like a slip disc. It was pain, super painful. And I dealt with this for years. And I tried inversion tables hanging upside down. That helped a little bit, right? But and yeah, it helped a lot. But the pain never completely went away. And then it was only when I got into yoga that I started finding relief, like 100% relief from this pain that I was experiencing from the what do you call it? Yeah, the pain that I was going through from that injury. And then it was like it started with things like bridge poses, and then up dogs and things like that, and even like upward facing bow, which some people call are confused with a wheel, but it's like when you're kind of arched like that with your hands and your feet on the ground, and things like that. You know, there was a few poses and starting to do twists and things like that, and then it went away. And then to me, this was just like, okay, yoga just became a healing, you know, it healed me, you know, so I became a person who really believes in this thing that is known as yoga. And but still, so and then moving forward, practice tons of yoga, but still my lower back would crack. I can stand in place, and I could with my muscles crack my back just by standing there. And I could do this multiple times a day, and it never really clued in what is going on, because if you don't have an understanding of human anatomy, then you just don't really realize about what is connected to what, and what kind of things that you could be doing that could be doing harm to certain things, or resulting in, say, tightness that then because if your hamstrings are tight and your psoas and your abductors are tight and your quads are tight, and then it's all connected. And there's even more. I'm not going to go into all of them, right? But there's so many muscles, different muscles that are working down in there, and everything's connected. And then, so if all of this stuff is tight, including your gluteus maximus, and in like other parts of your body too, depending on, if you do stretch those things, because they don't stretch themselves. I'll tell you that. Like, you have to do it. Yeah, it is 100% up to you. And then that is where people get super tight, and then all of a sudden they do something, they're picking something up where it's even tighter, and then they twist it, then ping, and then they throw their back out. And then you know what most people do? They're like, okay, well, I guess I'll just have to take it easy for a couple of weeks. And don't even think about, okay, well, why did this happen in the first place? And how am I going to make sure that this never happens again? You know what I mean? I mean, it's just ridiculous how it's like I've been dealing with this crack for years now, because I dealt with this I swear the cracking, it made its way from my neck down to here to crack, and then it stopped at my lumbar. And then it's just like this constant cracking. Now that I'm actually practicing deep hip opening stretches on a daily basis, working to reverse the damage that I've done, and really do my warm-ups and cool downs and working my muscles and eating right, it's gone away. Like that. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna try to just move forward here. Dry knuckles is something that I happened too, because I changed my diet on sometimes on a weekly, on a daily basis. I will make any changes that I see necessary to anything. I will move, like I've been embracing cooked food, but it's like now I'm doing so well. It's just like, what do I got to do to take things to the next level? I might embrace 100% raw food diet. We'll see when I get all my snacks and treats all organized, and we'll see how I feel. And it's like, if I can do it, because I sleep better when I don't have certain things in my body. Like if I eat like rice or potatoes, all those carbs and whatnot, I don't sleep as well, because my body, it's like it's burning off the calories when I sleep. And then I don't sleep so well. I have to keep my feet out because they're like off-gassing heat, right? And so it makes it annoying for sleeping. Whereas like if I can just eat the right foods, then my body's just at the perfect temperature, and it's not like overheating. It's not burning through stuff as I sleep. And so where was I? Right. So I changed my diet frequently. And then, so I was eating for a little bit, say like bananas with say like strawberries, and then I would put like a little spirulina powder or something like that, and then some soy milk or almond milk. Well, I tell you something, oat milk, those things, one second, it wants more light. What am I supposed to do here? How's that? Okay. Right, so it was these plant-based milks, organic, vegan, plant-based milks. And I don't know, there's something in them that would make, all of a sudden, my knuckles would be dry. It was drying me out, and that was the first thing that I would notice was the dry knuckles. And it's like, what on earth? I've never dealt with dryness. Like, what is, like, my skin is nice. I do not have blemishes on my skin anywhere. I mean, I used to, but I don't anymore. And it's just like, so when something comes up, it's very obvious. It's like, holy cow, what are you doing? It's like, what did I incorporate into my diet that is destroying my health? And the answer was, soy milk, It's not necessarily the soy, but these milks. I don't know what's in them, and so I don't touch any milks ever, and I won't even go to Starbucks and have like some sweet drink anymore, just because they put those milks in there. It's like, if I must have a milk, I will make almond milk or soy milk or cashew milk myself. Other than that, no thank you. And this is coming from a highly sensitive person, right? I mean, but I think that it's like highly sensitive people are just more aware of how sensitive we all are, because it's just much more transparent for us. It becomes more apparent. It's more noticeable. We can tell because we're highly sensitive. Anyways, so yeah, the dry knuckles, the soy milk. So dandruff was a thing too. I used to get tons of dandruff, and this was leading up to the whole gluten sensitivity. I'm not going to go into the details of that. That is in a separate video. But yeah, dandruff, big time, and flaky scalp. And so this was gluten, and then also zits, like that I would get. I can eat something fried once every few days. Any more than that, my body is just like, yeah, we're gonna tell this guy, we gotta wake him up. He's being an idiot again. And so, yeah, the dandruff, fried foods, and so it's just like, and and it begs to wonder. It's like, why, if you're getting a delayed reaction or a reaction at all, it's like, why would you eat it at all? If you can tell that it's not working for you, that it's not good, and it's like, why is it about what you can get away with? How about what is ideal? A lot of chin wagging here, talking. Right, anyways, moving on. Yeah, so fried foods, and I would get zits on the back of my head, on my neck, and as well on my face. Normally I would get like one zit on one pimple a year. But if I eat fried foods, I get them a lot more frequently, maybe one a week or something like that. So anyways, I've managed to cut fried foods out of my diet like by 95, 96, 97%, right? So no thank you to that garbage. Gluten, I eat a gluten-free diet just because when I was sensitive to it, I actually enjoyed the alternatives like amaranth and buckwheat. So I have been eating an amaranth and a buckwheat bread, which I will likely stop if I embrace 100% raw. Yeah, and that's the other thing, you got to start kind of making your own breads if you want to eat certain things, to have that variety. So anyways, gluten, yeah, the pimples with the fried food, the sore right foot, the pussyfooting, yeah. So my lip. So back in the day, I had to actually have surgery to have like a gland removed from my lip, because for some reason, when I am in certain situations that are where I'm focusing, where I'm in a sense under stress, I mean doing some kind of work, I would bite my lips like that. And so, doing that for 40 years, it damaged some of the like saliva gland ducts in there. And and like I said, one of them got swollen, and I had to get it removed, right? And so this is just one of these things. It's just like, you need to pay attention to everything that you're doing all the time. It's another thing that some people do when they are when some people are working, they make this face, like getting something up high, lifting something like this. You make this face well, those lines will show up on your face over time. That is why I practice what I call, or what I believe is called, what I call Buddha face, right? Where it's like, no matter what you're doing, just like when you're practicing strenuous asana pose in yoga, you maintain composure in your face. You don't make the crazy face or it's like, you maintain your composure. So that is a thing. And, learning to, it's weird, this thing with like biting my lips like that. I was completely unaware that I was doing this until I started becoming aware of it, and then realized more and more how much I do it. And now it's just like, and now I don't do it anymore because I've become conscious of it, right? But I think then that is the definition of the habit, is doing something that you're unaware of, whereas most things that we do are actually a choice. So that's a thing. Moving on, bags under your eyes. If you have bags under your eyes, to me, this means I will develop bags under my eyes if I eat too much cooked food, if I smoke weed for an extended period of time, if I drink too much, if I drink too much coffee, if I'm not getting sleep, essentially if I'm bagging on myself, I'm not taking care of myself, my self-care routine, I'm not practicing moderation. We're talking overeating, and eating the wrong foods, eating garbage, it all just like, it adds up, and it manifests in your face, and your body says, yeah, well, this guy's not gonna miss this. We'll make him look like he got hit by a bus, so that when he looks in the mirror, he's not gonna be like, oh gee, yeah, I'm doing just fine. He's not gonna be able to miss it. That's how beautiful and intelligent the body is it like has a way to get your attention. So that, because, what do you want to do? Do you want to survive or do you want to thrive? For myself, I want to thrive. I want to live to be way, like hundreds of years old. I have so much work to do. I have no intention of shortening my lifespan, of aging prematurely, and then dying as a result of some disease that was completely preventable. Absolutely no thank you. And so that's a big thing, the bags under your eyes. That is your body telling you, yeah, raw vegan diet, for me anyways. Your poop, your poop is telling you something. For myself, I like rice, brown rice and wild rice. I will eat those things, but my body does not like those things, not so much. And so I have, if I want a colon cleanse, I will make rice for dinner, and then I will see it in the toilet the next day. Not like it's not digested at all, but my body pushes it through. It doesn't say, we're gonna hold on to this and extract every last living nutrient, mineral, vitamin that is like possible from this stuff that he put into us. It's like, oh, we used it for what we could and out the other end. So, and I have that same experience with rice. With rice, with corn, it goes right through me. And then also papaya goes right through me. It doesn't mean I'm going to completely stop eating any of those things, but I do recognize the effect that they have on my body. And at least for the most part, I'm going to be very moderate in the amount of any of those substances that I consume. So of course, gray hair. If you have gray hair, for myself, I have very few gray hairs. I have a couple in my beard here. It's largely been kept at bay. I think because I live a largely stress-free lifestyle, I do whatever I need to do in order to avoid stress. And I know that sounds kind of crazy coming from somebody who's spent the last couple of years living transiently, a lot of it in a car, because it's not the best environment. It's sort of a toxic environment to be in. But I mean, it was all a part of a plan, not my plan, Anyways, so, and hair loss too. It's like if your hair falls out, it's saying something. I mean, I don't want to, be rude, but I mean, your body is saying something. If your hair turns gray and falls out, it's why like I don't listen to anybody's health advice who doesn't have a full head of their original hair color. I mean, it's just, to me, that's just not, it just doesn't make sense for myself where I'm at. Somebody that's a doctor and their hair fell out or something like that. It's like, you know, people might say, oh, it's this and that and blah, blah, blah. Not for me. No, thank you. It doesn't mean I won't listen to some things some people say, but that's not the best sign for me. So moving on, dry heels and dry heels. You know, like if your heels are super dry, like of course you need a loofah to scrub your body with to get some of the old skin off of. It helps. And also pumice stone to take care of your feet, especially if you're stomping around in the sand or the dust, this, that, you know, in the summertime. I mean, it helps to maintain your epidermis, your skin, you know, your outside layer. But if they're like excessively dry, if there's a lot of dry skin on there, it's probably not the best thing. I've dealt with this, and it has been, let's see, diet, and diet. Yeah. I can't think of anything else. I'm not being silly here. Diet. Yeah, anyways. So dry heels, dry feet. I don't know what that means. Dry lips. If you have dry lips, it means that you are super dehydrated. It means that things are not at a good place. If you are, say, you know, like I put on a little chapstick right now because I'm sitting here talking for like a long period of time and whatnot, and I have a little drink while I'm doing it, but it's like I don't wear chapstick during the day, and it's cold out and whatnot. I live in Canada. It's not a good sign if your lips are really dry, if they're peeling and stuff like that. It's like if your lips look like a desert, yeah, you know, you might want to figure out some kind of a hydration routine that involves like water and fruit and stuff like that, because it's, you know, at least in my experience, not a good sign. Right, so nails. If you look at your nails and you have these like, what I guess you'd call them horizontal lines, you know, if it has like that, lines like that, it's like there's something going on. There's like mineral deficiencies and like who knows what else, protein, this, that, I don't know. But I mean, and if they're really weak, if your nails are weak, not a good sign. Right now, my nails are perfect. And also too, if they're funny shapes, it's probably your shoes. If your feet are crammed into shoes, if the footwear that you have cannot accompany your feet so that they can't spread, and then it pushes them into funny shapes, and then your diet too, it's all saying something. Pay attention to that stuff. Slouching, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Don't slouch. It's just a terrible thing to do. Don't do it. Ever. Ever do not slouch. Sleep. Pay attention to your sleep. It's like, do you wake up feeling good after a night's sleep, or are you groggy? Does it take you a long time to actually wake up into, like, I get up in the morning and I'm not 100% when I wake up in the morning, but I'm, you know, pretty good. And I know that when I am really have my diet tuned in, you know, like more like 100% raw, I wake up fully alert, completely rejuvenated and ready to go. Whereas right now, I would say it's probably because of the cooked food. It slows me down, and I eat a little bit too late right now just because I've been so busy trying to get everything organized in my life. I'm really on a come up right now after years of living transiently and like many years of just all the BS that I've been going through, and it's like I'm finally getting on top of stuff. Anyways, so, you know, paying attention to your sleep and how much sleep do you need? Whereas like when I'm on top of my game, I go to bed at 8 o'clock, I'm up at 11 o'clock. And that is when my day starts. so that I have, then I put in a, or if I go to bed at 9, then I get up at midnight. So about 3 hours for myself when my body is running optimally. And that includes, because I have a pretty significant meditation practice, and that sort of takes the place of sleep. And it's like I have things that I'm passionate and devoted to. So it's like I have a reason to get up. I'm not absconding from duties or life or anything like that. Like I don't want to lie in bed. That doesn't appeal to me, I suppose, is what it is. So, this is possible. And for myself, this is how I get so much done in my life, is because I get up. So before I start work if I get up at midnight, I've had 3 hours of sleep, I get up and then I start work at 8:30. So I put in 8 hours into my own life every single day. You know what I mean? Outside of the weekends, I'm talking weekdays. And so like I am making strides, large strides forward in my life because of this. It is huge, right? So that is that thing. Anyways, yeah, sleep, moving on. Joint popping. If I eat too much cooked food, say like my thumbs, it's like crack, 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 crack. And they become like stiff, and then there'll be a little like pop. It's from eating the wrong food, right? As soon as you change your diet, your body responds like almost instantaneously to the changes that you make in your diet. So it's like you have to pay attention to that. And also like a loss of strength, grip strength and stuff like that I've experienced, where it's like it was hard to like open things. It's like, holy cow, why am I so weak? Why is my organism weak? Why is my energy down? Like, what do I have to do to fix this? So yeah, the joint popping, fatigue. Yeah, I mean, that's along the lines of the sleep. It's just like, if you are unable to perform jobs and stuff like that, if you're tired, you come home and you just crash, and of course sometimes you work a hard day. Yeah, you come home, or you've been burning the candle at both ends. Yeah, sometimes you crash, but anyway, so fatigue. I mean, overwhelm is another one too. It's something that I've been learning about in my sensitivity course, where it's just like, because I think about a lot of stuff and I'm taking a lot in, because it's what it is to be a sensitive person, I will experience essentially heart palpitations, where it's like your heart just goes, it beats in a funny way and it's noticeable. So it's like when your body is telling you that, listen to it. It's saying, take a moment, step back, calm down, relax, breathe, maybe go outside, do something else, right? But don't overlook it and just like push through. It's like, listen to what your body is telling you so that you don't get overwhelmed, because like I can get overwhelmed going shopping, choosing socks or something. It doesn't happen so much anymore, but because everything is important to me, because I try to pay attention to so many things, and I really try to tap in. It's like I want to make sure I get the right socks so that I don't end up with a purchase that I'm ultimately not happy with, that I'm not going to enjoy for a very long time, and isn't going to serve the purpose that that it's intended to. So it's like I get sometimes when there's just so many choices, it just becomes overwhelming for me. So I've learned how to calm that down though. I mean, meditation helps a lot with that. So now I don't really behave that way. I'm a lot more calm as a baseline as I go into things, right? So that's the overwhelm. There's the sensitivity thing. So my rash. When I was 20 years old, I developed a rash over 50% of my body. It started with a little dot, and then it just grew, and it's something that it's a horrible name, but it's called dermatitis herpetiformis, because it looks like herpes, because it's like little blisters essentially, and I would get it on the palms of my hands. I would get it none of the places that people that have herpes get it, like on the mouth and the genitals, but I would get it on the backs of my hands. See, I have a little bit of it right here, right now, there. And it's because there was this new Indian restaurant that opened up in this place, and we were doing this job there, and we'd never been there before, and it's from a town that I'm from, and I was like, okay, we went there and ate, and there was something in it. There was some kind of cross-contamination. I don't know if they're cooking bacon with nitrates or some kind of stabilizer, preservative, additives, MSG, I don't know. But after that food, I absolutely got a very mild reaction, but it was definitely noticeable. It took a couple of days for it to manifest, but I was like, well, I didn't eat anything else other than that, you know, outside of my normal diet. So I will never eat that at that place again, and I will tell everybody to never go there. I mean, if they care. But that's my message, right? I mean, I think poison is poison. I don't care if it's like, if it shows up on your skin, you know, it's like is poison not poison if you can't tell you're being poisoned? I don't know. I'll leave that one to you to figure out. Anyway, so like, but this thing, it would be like big time down armpits like this, backs of knees and feet, meaning toe area, because it's like poison was trying to get out of my body, and it turned out to be, like I said, preservatives, stabilizers, food additives, basically anything synthetic I avoid now, including nowadays I avoid citric acid, because there's two types of citric acid. One of them comes from things like citrus fruits, and the other one comes from black mold. It is a synthetic citric acid that is derived from black mold. And they put this in food to add a tart flavor or for whatever reasons, but it's just, that is, you know what I mean? It's just disgusting. And so once you learn about this, and then, you know, you still see citric acid sometimes on labels, but then you look it up and you make sure that you're not eating anything that was made from black mold, because that's, in my perspective, disgusting. And so moving on. Oh, no. So that one, you know, and that took 7 years of dietary roulette to figure out that it was all of these additives, these synthetic chemicals, poisons that are put in foods for a variety of reasons. I mean, Mother Nature doesn't put any of those things in what she provides, but of course man does, so it can sit on the shelf for, you know, 5 years and never go bad. Yay. Anyways, so that stuff, and I went in, I got all the testing. I had blood testing. I had, I've had iridology done. I had, what do you call it? That's not really important, the iridology, because it was a different time in my life. But when I first had this problem, they put this big patch on my back. I remember, all my friends remember, because we went camping, and I had this patch with like 50 little pockets in it, and they tape it to your back and they stick it on there, and they put all these chemicals in there and see which one your body responds to with a rash, and then analyze, you know, your body afterwards, and then see, and they're like, oh, we think it's nightshades, like tomatoes and potatoes. Horse crap. What a waste of time. What a waste of money. These people call themselves doctors. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, figured that one out over time. But, and you know what's really sad is that I have a friend who has a child who has the exact same condition, and he knows that I had the exact same condition. I told him, I was like, hey, that is the exact same condition. Yet when it comes to him and his partner, they play stupid. They're like, gee, I wonder what it is. I wonder, you know, maybe we'll put these steroid creams. And I was like, that's exactly what they gave me, was steroid creams and antifungal creams and stuff like that. And it's like, all it does is make your skin really weak. It it's like you are poisoning him, and because they don't want to look at the fact that their diet is full of poison, and that they're not only poisoning themselves and anybody who comes over and their own children, and that they have no clue what they're doing. So it's like a lot of ego is involved in it, and it's frustrating for me, or it's not frustrating, but it's a little disheartening because there's a child involved, and it's like he is at their mercy, and they are not willing to confront this. And I've tried, believe me, I've tried, and it's not being heard, and it's just like, yeah. Anyways, I'm just gonna leave that one there. Yeah, it is annoying. So if you smell, right? If you have BO, if you stink, it's telling you something. You're not supposed to smell bad. I mean, everybody has a body odor to them, right? Like I have an odor to me, but it's not an odor. I smell sweet. I mean, I change my clothes every day. For most of them anyways, but like I wear a new work shirt every day, but I don't stink. I mean, there's no bad smell emanating from me. Nobody's like, holy crap, you stink. It's just not the case. I don't smell. So if you smell bad, have a strong smell emanating from you, for myself, I would question what I was eating. And, I know when I used to eat lots of onions and garlic, that was an issue, especially if they're raw. So it's just like, do I eat onions and garlic now in moderation, in like serious moderation? So very little, but in some dishes, it is necessary, or it works anyways, and maybe it could be avoided, but anyways. So a smelly BO. Farts. The body, people burp, it's one thing. It's another one too, is the breath of death. Some people have this breath that it smells like they're dying on the inside, and it's probably because they are. It's harsh. It's very sharp. It's just like, you don't want to be in an elevator with one of these people. And farts too. Some people's farts, like, yeah, I mean, like, people pass gas, but you shouldn't pass a lot of gas, and it shouldn't smell really bad. And so I say, it's like, if you have bad smells coming out of your holes, you should think about your diet and whatnot, and your digestion and that kind of stuff. And that, that along the same lines is like smelly genitals. Like, say a woman, if women, are ripe down there, ripe meaning smelly, it's not a good sign. I mean, it's something that changes on a raw food diet too. I've heard that, like, say like a man's semen goes from being say salty and pungent to being sweet when you embrace raw food and stop eating the onions and garlic and alliums and stuff like that. So yeah, smelly genitals. On men too, if you're uncircumcised, there's a protective layer that is underneath your foreskin, and it's a stuff that is generated by the body called smegma. And it's like, it's because if there's skin in contact with each other, it's sort of like a lubricant that sits in there. But, and it does have an odor to it, but it shouldn't be a rank, putrid smell. And there shouldn't be an excess of it. If there is, your body is telling you something, and you need to pay attention to that. Pee color and smell. If your pee stinks, once again, that's something you need to pay attention to. And if it's dark in color, unless you've been eating beets or whatever, or asparagus or papaya or coconut, some things run through you. But it's one of the things that you got to pay attention to anyways, the smell. I used to have this thing where every winter my ears would peel. They would just become dry, and they would crack, and they would peel, and I'd literally peel chunks off my ears. I think all of that was leading up to like the whole gluten sensitivity. And yeah, it was just another one of these signs, my body trying to say, hey, you're doing everything wrong. You got to smarten up. So the peeling ears, so bags under the eyes. Yeah, we did that. The weed and cooked food, that was all on the same lines. Bloating, if you're bloated, like if your body is bloated, if your stomach is bloated, for myself, I have a test. It's like when I poke at my belly, it should be very supple. It shouldn't be, there's not a lot of pushback. It's mostly just, it goes in, you can tell that I'm not stuffed and I'm not bloated. So if you're bloated, I can tell when I'm bloated. I got a big fat Indonesian pot belly on me, and it's just, that used to be the joke, the Indonesian pot belly. Well, now it's just like, that's not a joke, that's serious. That's your body saying, you're putting this stuff in here and it's causing bloating. It's not, reactions like that, they're not life and death, but they're not good. Put it like that. Yawning, it's another one too. It's like, if you're yawning, for myself, I do a thing now. It's like, I go to sleep when I'm tired and I get up when I wake up. When I wake up, I don't roll around in bed and be like, oh, I'm just gonna lie here for another 6 hours or something like that. You wake up, your body said it's time to get up. But in order to do that, your mind and your body and like your energy and your emotions and your lifestyle and your life needs to be in alignment, or else it's very hard to do that, because you end up making that poor decision, be like, oh, I don't feel like getting up, because you don't have anything to get up for. And that's it tells you something about yourself and your life and what you're involved with. So yeah, yawning tells you, relax, lie down. It doesn't necessarily mean go to sleep. When I get up early in the morning, sometimes around 3/4 of the way through, after about 6 hours, I will lie down for a minute, but not go to sleep. I just lie down and I rest my eyes for a minute and take a few breaths, something other than, just take a break from the computer and from yoga and meditation and all that kind of stuff, or whatever I'm involved in, all the buzzing and busying around that I involve myself in. Take a moment. Yeah, so yawning, a good sign, from the body, just saying, take a second, like I said, it doesn't need to be asleep. Sneezing, a mass coronal ejection, like your body is pushing something out. For myself, I do believe that, sure, that on one level, this has to do with clearing the sinuses, which can be, if you're in a particularly dusty situation, you need to clean that stuff out, so your body does it automatic, because it's super hyper intelligent. And so it gives you this sensation where you go pshoo, and then you blow all that stuff out. But I've also noticed that I do believe at the moment that it has to do with negative thoughts. And that's like why that thing, bless you, oh bless you, because you are essentially, it's not like, yeah, it is to do with negative thinking. When I pay pretty close attention to my thoughts, and so I track them for what it's worth. And I notice that when I think something that is negative, it's like my body says, get that out of there. Get it out of there. Get those stupid ideas out of your head. Don't think that way. Pay attention to this. Recognize that you're in your negative ego, for what it's worth. And so very great feedback, though, to be able to, recognize what is going on. And anyways, moving on. I had something else to say, but abnormal hair growth. Right. So there have been times in my life where it's just like, all of a sudden my nose hairs would be growing longer, or I'd be growing like ear hair, or my eyebrow hairs. And it's like, to me, I would say that it probably has something to do with eating crap. It's food, it's diet related. something along the lines of, and it could be stress related, so lifestyle, but life choices. I mean, and that has to do with psychology because it's to do with your mind and whatnot. But like it's like eating things that are like GMOs. It's like, you have a choice when you have a bag of chips that are in your hand that are not organic and they don't say GMO, non-GMO on them. If they're not, they probably are. And they're probably, grown with pesticides, really nasty ones. And, and if you don't even care about that, then you probably don't care about the MSG or all of the other, E numbers, or just like the fake ingredients, the fake artificial flavors and colors and all just the absolute garbage that they put in there. And so it's like, that is, I believe that has something to do with where cancer comes from. It's like, I'm not going to talk about it right now, but something along the lines of like, you eat these things and because the proteins aren't natural, and so like our bodies are built from amino acids that are extracted from proteins, which then are used as building blocks to then create abnormalities and whatnot. Thankfully, our body rejuvenates quite a bit, so you can correct these things if you correct your diet, correct your mindset and your attitude and your behavior. Right. So sneezing, hair growth, Page 2. I'm sure we'll be done quickly though. I did this one, not making progress in certain yoga poses. I mean, for myself, like happy baby, because which is when you're lying on your back, you got your legs there, and like you're like holding your feet like this because of the tight hamstrings. So it's like, pay attention to that stuff. Your body's saying, hey, if you've been doing a pose for years and you're not making any progress, you're doing it wrong, right? That's why you need a teacher. That's why you need individual attention. And it's worth it to pay for that kind of a thing, because like, why do it if you're just always going to do it wrong and derive no real benefit from it, right? So prone to injury, repeated injury. I said, like with my back, I hurt myself multiple times, and with my knees, that was pretty annoying. Different aches and pains. Like I've had like a thing in behind my shoulder blade where it would just bug me all the time. It would just, it creates this not nice sensation. It's not painful, like not a numb, but like a burning sensation. It's just like, I can tell something's wrong. I don't know what it is. But ever since I've been doing a lot of all of the things that I've mentioned, it's gone away. Instead of, trying to, there's a thing, I'll get it just because I'm right here. Right, so this thing helps, like in the meantime, where is it? It's like, they call it a myofascial release. So the fascia is like a sort of a fuzzy stuff that is over your body and like over your muscles, and I guess it provides like sort of it's almost like a lubricant in between like your skin and your muscles or something like that. That's my basic understanding of it, that layer. But it builds up when you sleep. And so over time, it dissipates by stretching, but if you don't stretch, it can build up in certain areas and become quite strong. So then you can take this thing and you kind of like put it into a certain spot and then just hold it there. And then it's like a deep pressure massage where it's like, it's very hard to kind of get that area if you don't have the money to shell out for a massage, right? So you kind of have to. This is a wonderful device. I still believe in it, but I mean, it's not the entire answer unto itself, right? We treat causes, not symptoms, right? Right. And so the next one is body's not healing. I experienced this when I started going to the gym a lot because I I'm a gym rat for what it's worth. I'm there constantly. I used to like essentially live at the gym when I was living in my car. And if you go to the gym a lot and practice a lot of yoga, and then you're all of a sudden fatigued and tired and you're not healing, you're not making progress, is diet, right? Like if you're not eating the right diet, I'm not going to say what that is, but I'm just saying diet. Screw it, I'll say it. Protein. I mean, if you're going to push yourself athletically, it is important to compensate because you're tearing muscles and stuff like that, right? You need to rebuild. So how is your body supposed to do that if you're not eating enough building materials to compensate? So then it responds with tiredness, and you'll get laid out and you'll be like, what am I doing wrong? It's like your diet. You're not paying attention. Not enough. Yeah, it has to be a well-balanced diet. Proteins and fats and carbohydrates, all that kind of stuff. Fiber, nutrients, vitamins, minerals, right? Phytochemicals, water, life force energy. Because like on like a yogic level, it's not so much just about the chemical composition of certain food stuff. It's much more. We're looking, it's not that it's more, but we're looking very closely at the energetic component to it all, whether it's sattvic, like light and expansive, or rajistic, which is like so like sattvic would be like your fruits and your veggies and your fresh and your raw and your fresh raw, right? And clean and organic and all that kind of stuff. And then rajistic is things that are like lots of energy, so stimulating, so things like coffee and spicy food and certainly processed foods because of the sugar, right? You get a sugar high and that kind of stuff. So you really have to pay attention to that kind of stuff. And then tamastic food, things that are like make you sleepy, that make you tired, that make you heavy, which is things like whatever, junk food, without saying it, just anything that you shouldn't be eating, that is of a negative nature, that is not, that's super negative and disrespectful. Yeah. So I'm not going to go there right now. So not healing, brain fog. If you're not thinking clearly, if you're walking around in a daze, that's not a very good sign. If you're not firing on all cylinders, you gotta wonder why. And if that is the case, I mean, there are things that you can do about it. Stop eating alliums like onions and garlic and leeks and shallots and all that kind of stuff. It's the sulfur in them. They are medicine. They're not food. Sure, they're okay in some dishes, but seriously moderate them and be aware of everything that they're in so that you're not intaking too much of them. And a variety of other things. I mean, just for myself, if I eat too much cooked food, doesn't matter what it is, I feel like a cooked food. You are what you eat. So it's like I feel like somebody stuck me in a steamer and I just kind of limp, as opposed to like my vigorous self who's full of energy, full of beans, right? And so brain fog. Itchiness, if your skin is itchy, I can tell if I eat a bag of Lay's potato chips, I can feel my skin crawl before I even put it in my mouth. It's like if I've decided to do it. I don't know if it's like that for everybody, but that's what it is for my level of sensitivity. I can feel things before they happen. It's the same thing with plant medicine too. Like if you're sensitive, you can say, like, if you are planning to eat take medicine like mushrooms or something like that, the medicine starts working before you take it, because it's just like there is a connection there. There's an energetic exchange that is taking place. And yeah, so like with the chips, so it's just like, if it makes your skin crawl, consider not eating it, because it's like, what do you think it's doing to your insides if that's what it's doing to your outsides? Not very smart. Numbness is a thing too, also, which I would also call like a loss of feeling. I've had times where it's like my fingers would go numb, or there would be like certain tingliness in my extremities. It's just like I would lose feeling in fingers, right? And that's scary. Like I use my hands for everything. That's freaky. And so that has gone away because I am so much more conscious about everything that I do these days. Eye twitch, I used to get this thing where it's like this bottom piece would twitch here, twitch. Super, it's kind of annoying, but it's just like, what was it? I don't know. Was it just diet? Probably. That seems to be a reoccurring theme here. Receding gums, some people are like, oh, it's the way that you're brushing, this and that. I mean, it's a lot of things. It's the foods that you eat. Some people, I used to think it's like, okay, you're brushing your gums too hard or this or that. And I've heard people say it's like, you're not brushing your gums hard enough. You use these soft toothbrushes. So you eat a crappy diet and you don't brush enough. And then you don't brush with a hard enough toothbrush. The harder toothbrush actually stimulates the gums and growth, and you get all the crap off of your teeth. And then so then they have an opportunity to actually grow back. Whereas if you don't brush your teeth enough and you use a soft brush, then it's just like the whole thing with the shoes. It's like your feet are screwed because you wear those shoes, not because you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, anyways, receding gums, you get the point. The bad breath, the breath of death, I already covered that one. Leg spasms, I don't know if I said, but it's like I used to sit, and because I spent so much time, sitting in a chair writing for many hours a day. And I would get these spasms, like even like last year, even with all of the yoga that I do. But like I said, I wasn't holding the poses long enough, and I wasn't doing enough variations, and they would just cramp up. You get like I don't know if it's called like a Charlie horse or a horse bite or something. Anyways, and it's like I would have to lie down and like kind of like be like, oh my God, what is going on, right? And not addressing it properly, right? So leg spasms, and it would also happen with my hamstrings as well. I remember when I was down in Mexico, that was an issue as well. And so, yeah, that is it. That is essentially what I have been through on a personal level. This is over the course of my 43 years on this planet. But super good, If you watch this, you don't have to go through that same stuff. If that's the beauty of people sharing their experiences and what they learned from it. It's like, you don't have to learn things the hard way. You can piggyback off the experiences of others if you feel like you believe in their message and that they're being sincere and honest about what they're sharing and whatnot. And, if you have that kind of trust in me, well, good for you. I mean, that is certainly what yeah, good. Anyways, so yeah, diet, yoga, gym, lifestyle, attitude, behavior, mindfulness, awareness, paying attention, listening. This is what it's all about. Growth mindset. And that's it. It's not rocket science. It's basically just the same things over and over and over. And if you just don't listen, if you don't pay attention, if you can't pick up on what is being told to you, you will get repeated and repeated. This is really, borders on spiritual stuff too, because that is like life in general. Like there are themes, repeating themes, where it's like, if you can't pick up on what life is telling you, then it will be repeated down the road with greater intensity, to the point where the message becomes so loud that it becomes impossible for you to overlook anymore without, essentially something very drastic happening. Like, it's like this, like you either, you get pushed, what do they say, at the precipice. That's when people change. You get pushed to the edge of a cliff where your option is to either begin moving in another direction or embrace death, because that is what is going on. So it's spiritual. There's nothing not spiritual about any of this stuff. The physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, they're the same. This is one thing that is going on. And, the quicker that you wake up to this, probably the better. It certainly has been for me. And in the very short period of time where I've actually been practicing all of this, being the embodiment of my teachings, really putting my money where my mouth is, really, walking the walk and talking the talk, I've made huge steps forward in a very short period of time of really having things dialed in, right? And I think that is what I would call the purpose of the exercise. And it is not to make you suffer. It is not to give you a hard time. Your body is not out to get you. Life is not out to get you. It is a there's a feedback system that is taking place. That is what is going on. And it is about love. It is about learning to love yourself and understand what that means. Like to embrace being alive, to embrace this body, this vehicle, like this is my chariot. This is what carries me through this life. Without it, I couldn't be here doing this, making these videos and all this kind of stuff. It's super important. So take care of it and take care.